Hey everyone, welcome to Module 1 of QR. This week we're going to be talking about thinking mathematically, and then we're going to discuss a little bit about how to convert fractions to decimals and then to percentage, right? Now to this video will be posted on Blackboard and on YouTube. I'll show you guys how to get to that. So enough of my face. Let's see. Open up Blackboard. Right here, right? When you go on Blackboard, right here it says cohort 1, but again, since this is asynchronous and it's going to look exactly the same for all of you, even if you're in cohort 2 or 3, you click on course modules, this will open up. When you click here, you'll have the QR lesson 1, right? This video will be here, the link and the video. I'll upload the video here, but if you're having trouble seeing it, I'll upload on YouTube as well, and I'll put that link over here. And this week's worksheet is going to be right here. It's already up, so if you started, that's great. If you haven't, it's over here. Right, so let's get started with thinking mathematically. Right, again, C7R1 QR. So, as you guys should already know, mathematics is everywhere, right? It's everything you do. You might not even realize it. Like from the morning you wake up, right? Let's say you're looking at the time and you're thinking, oh, I still have 5 more minutes to reach the bus or the train. If you guys were coming to come in, right? You're doing mathematics subconsciously, right? So it's all around us. There's mathematics and patterns when you're making recipes. Let's say you're cooking something, right? And the recipe shows you for serves 2 people, but you want to serve 10 people, right? What do you have to do? You have to multiply everything by 5, right? So you're working with ratios then when you're cooking, uh, and we're looking at time, schedule, so it's everywhere, right? We're gonna be looking at that. But there's a lot of stuff out there, right? How do you organize everything, right? The way you do it is first you take data, you analyze that data, right? The raw data is really actually really confusing to work with, right? And you'll see that later on the semester. But you analyze it, you find patterns, you find what's important, what do you need, what don't you need, you sort it out, right? And then you get some ideas from that, right? And the idea is the main goal that we're trying to get at, right? Now, again, data can be overwhelming, right? Raw data is really scary. If you ever looked at Excel sheets or looked at Excel sheets, it's very overwhelming. So in order to make data look pretty, what we do is we create graphs, right? We're gonna be using Excel and Google Sheets throughout the semester to analyze data and make it presentable because nobody wants to look at raw numbers, right? So we're gonna be doing a lot of that. And before we get to all of that, right? Before we get to working with numbers and analyzing them and coming with ideas, which is what our end goal is by the end of the semester. And I'm pretty sure everybody will get better at it throughout the semester. We have to kind of go back to our basic mathematics, right? How you convert, first thing is how do you convert fractions to percentages or decimals, right? That's one of the first things we're going to be learning, right? If once we hone up our basic mathematics skills, right? Then when we get to the analysis part, it's going to make our life a lot easier. All right. So let's open up that worksheet. So let's click this right here, converting fractions to decimals. And here's the worksheet we have, right? So what I usually do is when I create these worksheets, right? Again, they're for you. I'm not collecting them. They're practice, right? But I highly encourage you guys to complete them and come with any questions on the Thursday and Friday sessions, right? The office hour sessions or consultation sessions I have from 10 to 11. Come with any questions, and if you can't make it to those, there is a section on um, Blackboard, which I'll show you at the end of this video, where you're supposed to make comments on this week's lesson, right? By Friday, I'll talk more about that later. But I expect you guys to comment and have any questions, and if anybody wants to reply to somebody else's questions, feel free to do that, right? So when I make these worksheets again, work on them on your notebook. I try to have them in separate different levels of difficulty, right? Starts off with level 1, and then you go to level 2, which is a little bit more challenging, and then level 3, right? Sometimes there might be a level 4 or 5. So it gets more progressively more challenging. Um, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over 1 or 2 questions from each level, and the basic idea is the same for all the questions in the same level. So I want you guys to try those using the examples that I did. Right, so the first one is converting fractions to decimals, and here we're only looking at denominators, which is the lower number, right? The upper number is the numerator, the lower number is denominator, and we're only looking at denominators of 10 or 100, so fairly easy, right, converting these. So let's look at the first two. So 63 over 100 and 6 over 10. So let's open up our notebooks, right? So the first one, wow, my handwriting's bad. 63 over 100, and second one is 6 over 10, if I'm not mistaken, right? So when converting fractions to decimals, you guys all have calculators, so the easiest way is just plug it into calculator, right? So this would be 63 divided by 100. So on the calculator, you would just put 63 divided by 100, right? If you put that in the calculator, that's what it would be. And you get 0.63. That's the decimal. Right, now so that's your decimal, right? How do you convert this to a percentage? So there's two ways that I could think of to convert decimals to percentages. One is times 100, and another is moving the decimal 2 spaces to the right. So I'm going to write that down right here. So decimal to percentage, right? The way you do that is you multiply it by 100, right? And it has nothing to do with this 100 right here. That's just a rule. Okay, that's just a rule. So so this is your decimal times 100 gives you 63, and don't forget the percent sign. That's your percent. That's your percentage, right? So that's how you would calculate it. The other way is moving the decimal 2 spaces to the right, right? So here's your decimal right here. You move it 2 spaces. That's 1. That's 2. That gives you 63%. Exactly the same as this, right? Now, the second question, basically the same idea. 6 divided by 10. If you do it on the calculator, you get 0.60, right? You might get 0.6. This and this is exactly the same thing, right? The trailing zero doesn't add anything, but there's a reason why I put it, right? The reason is because, let me erase this. This is your decimal, and I want to convert that to a percentage. Now the rule is times 100, so 0.60 times 100 gives us 60%. You see how this times 100 has nothing to do with this denominator, right? It was just a coincidence that this was also 100. This is a basic rule, right? It has nothing to do with the denominator. So this turns into 60%. That's your percentage, right? Another way you could look at it is 0.06, and this is the reason why I put the trailing zero, right? It's because if you move it 2 decimals to the right, your decimal starting point is right here, this becomes 60%. So whichever way you could think of, times 100 or moving it to the right, whichever way you think is easier, you could do that, right? It gives you the same exact answer. Now, keeping that in mind, I want you guys to, where's my mouse? Right? Keeping that in mind, I want you guys to work on the rest of the first level, right? 4 divided by 100, 17 by 100, 7 divided by 10, right? So when you're working on this on your notebook, right, try to do it in the way that I did it, in the sense that first write the decimal, right? Then write the percentage, right? And in the quizzes, you guys are going to get very similar questions, probably not as easy as this, right? Probably a level 2 or level 3 questions. What I want you guys to do is get into the practice of showing your work, like the way I showed it right here, right? You don't have to write down the rules and whatnot, right? But what I did right here, 63 divided by 100, that equals 0.63, and the way you convert to percentage is by times 100. So something like this, right? If you do something like that, you'll get full credit for that question. All right. So let's move on to level 2. Right? And the good thing about these videos is that if you get stuck or anywhere, just rewind, right? Feel free to rewind, pause, while you're working on it, right? You can work on the first question by yourself, and then the second one, first work on the first question with me, and then pause, work on the second one by yourself, and then play again, see if it matches up with mine, right? So let's work on this second one, the second level. So we have 5 divided by 7 and 3 divided by 9. Right, so let's scroll down a little. This is level 2. Question 1, 5 divided by 7. Question 2, was it 3 divided by 9, I believe? Yep, 3 divided by 9. Again, on your calculators, what do you get? 5 divided by 7 gives you, and I'm going to take out my calculator too, just to make sure, 0.7428 0.714285714. So it's a running number, right? So I'm gonna round it to 2 decimal places, 0.71, right? The actual number, I'm gonna write it over here. 5 divided by 7 is 0.714285, and if you actually look at it, it goes 714285. It keeps on going over and over again. And you guys, if you remember from school, if there's repeating, so you have this line right here, right? But I'm only going to round to 2 decimal places, right? So that means I'm only going to put 2 numbers after the decimal, right? So this is your decimal form of this fraction, and to convert it to a percentage, remember, times 100, that's one way. So this times 100 gives us 71%, right? Again, if I converted it using the 2 decimal spot points, 1, 2, that gives us the same exact answer. All right, next one, 3 divided by 9. This one I know is going to be 0.33333 going on forever, because 3 divided by 9, if you remember, if you simplify, is just 1/3, right? We'll talk about how to simplify fractions in a later video, but 1/3 is 0.333. Again, I'm keeping 2 decimal places, so I'm just only keeping 2 numbers after the decimal, right? Now to convert that to a percentage, right, I times it by 100, I get 33%. All right. All right. While we're on this topic, right, I want to talk about significant figures and rounding, right? So let's say you have a number, right? So let's say this one right here, 0.714285, right? If I say round to 2 decimal places, right? So round 2 decimal places, right? 2 decimal places, right? That means you're going to give me 2 numbers after the decimal. So 1, 2, right? 0.71. If I said 3 decimal places, you're going to give me 3 numbers. 0.714, right? If I say 4 decimal places, you're going to give me 4 numbers. 0.7142. But here, I have a 2 right here, right? But whenever you're rounding, you look at the next number as well. In the first 2 cases, 0.71 and 0.714, right? Let me write this a little bit nicer. 1, 4, right? Whenever I looked at the next number, it was below 5. Remember, when you're rounding, if it's below 5, you keep the number. If it's 5 or above, you bump it up to the next number. What does that mean, right? So you have 0.71, right? This is a 4. So when you round this, you leave those 2 numbers, right? You leave it as 0.71. When you round to 3 decimal places, you look at these 3 numbers and the next one. This is a 2. This is a 2, so it's not going to bump this up number any higher. It's going to stay as a 4. When you're looking at 4 decimal places, you're looking at 1, 2, 3, 4. This one, and you take a look at the next number as well. This is an 8, right? Since the 5th number is above a 5 or above, that means this will get bumped up to a 3. So this will become 0.7143, right? I'll give you another example, right? Let's say you had a decimal that was 36 0.361, right? If I say round to one decimal place, right? If I say round to one decimal place, I'm looking at this. I want one number after the decimal, right? So it's going to be 0.1 number, right? But that one number, is it going to be a 3 or a 4, right? It's going to depend on, oops, sorry. It's going to depend on that next number. So since 6 is 5 or above, right? It's bigger than 5, right? That means that it's going to round to a 4. If I said same thing, round to two decimal places, right? Round to two decimal places. Now I want 0.2 numbers here, right? 3 is going to be the first number. Now the second number, is it going to be a 6 or a 7? We look at the number after the 6. It's a 1, so that means we keep it the same. Alright guys, so that's just a short lesson on rounding. Now let's get to level 3. Actually, before that, the same thing applies if this was a number greater than 1, right? So this is, let's say this was 2.61, right? And I asked for one decimal place. You would leave the 2 there, right? If I asked for two decimal places, you would leave the 2 there as well, right? So when I say round to a decimal place, whatever the whole numbers are, whatever the numbers on the left of the decimal, you leave those the way it is. Whatever's on the right of the decimals, that's what the concern is going to be about, right? So it doesn't matter if this was a 2 or a 12 or a 712, right? All those numbers are going to remain. What you're going to be focusing on is when you round to decimal places, you're going to be focusing on what's after the decimal, not what's before the decimal. All right? So let me just clean this up. All right, now let's get to level 2. Level 3, excuse me. Level 3 again. So complete these. Complete the next 14 of them up till 16. And if you get stuck anywhere, I'll show you guys where to make the comments. Next one, level 3. This is about changing mixed numbers, right? So there's 4 steps here. There's 3 kind of steps here, right? First, you got to convert these mixed numbers into a improper fraction, and then convert that improper fraction to a decimal and a percentage, right? So let's look at the first one, 4 and 18/25. Move down, right? So this is your level 3, right? First question is 4 and 18/25, right? If I'm not wrong. Yep, 4 and 18/25. So this is your mixed number. The reason it's mixed is because you have a whole number and you have a fraction, right? So it's mixed. So we have to convert this to an improper fraction. Improper fraction meaning the numerator is greater than the denominator. That's what an improper fraction is. Right, so just to reiterate what I just said, so a proper fraction, where's my pen? So a proper fraction would be, so proper fraction would be something like 2/7, right? Or 1/4, or 10 out of 15, right? So these are all proper fractions. Improper fraction is when the numerator, which is the top number, is greater than the denominator, which is the bottom number, right? So let's say 7 out of 2, right? Or 4 out of 1, or 15 out of 10, right? These are the same, we're using the same number, I just flipped them around to show you, right? So these are all improper fractions because the numerator is greater than the denominator, right? So let me erase this. I mean, you could pause the video and write that down for your own notes, but I just want some space right here. So first thing is, this is called a mixed number. We want to convert this to an improper fraction. That's going to make our life a lot easier once we do that. How do we do it? Let's write this down right here. So what you have to do is take this big number right here, which is your whole number, right? So let me erase that so it's easier to see. Where is it? So your 4 is your whole number, right? Your 18, this is your numerator, this is your denominator. So this is your numerator, this is your denominator, denominator, What? Yeah, my pen just spazzed out. Denominator. This is your whole number, right? So it's really important that you guys understand the different components, right? So the 4 is your whole number, 18 is your numerator, 25 is your denominator, right? So what are we going to do with them? We're going to be, in order to convert your mixed number to improper fraction, first thing you gotta do is you gotta take your whole number, multiply by your denominator, right? That's step one. That's step one, which gives us 100, right? Step two is add this number right here to the numerator, right? And that gives you 118. Again, step one is um, whole number times denominator. That's your step one. And then step two is uh, that gives you a product, right? Whenever you multiply something, it gives you a product. So you do product times, let me put a zero, times numerator, right? And that gives you your new numerator. No, numerator. Right, so 4 times 25 gives you 100. 100 plus 18 gives you 118. So this is your new numerator, 118 over 25. That's going to be your improper fraction, right? So now the next step is basically the same as level 2, 118 divided by 25. You have your calculators, right? That gives you 4.72, right? And this is your in decimal format, right? It's already in 2 decimal places. You want to convert this to a percentage, right? Remember, to convert to a percentage, you could either times 100 or move the decimal places 2 places to the right. So 4.72 times 100 gives you 472%, right? Which some of you guys might look at this, how could something be greater than 100%? I thought 100% was the maximum. When you're working with numbers, you could think a grade could be 100, 0 to 100, right? But not everything ranges from 0 to 100%, right? If you're looking at, let's say, if you know about stocks, right? If you have a profit or increase, then you could have over 100%, right? Or if you have a decrease and you're losing money, you have less than 0%, right? So there's instances where you have more than 100% all the time, right? So don't get startled if you see a percentage greater than 100. Same thing. Let me make some space. Should I write it right here? 4.72. If I had done it the other way, move the decimal places 2 spaces to the right, you would get 472%. Same exact thing, whichever way you look at it. And it's not a coincidence that there's a 4 over here, which matches this 4 over here, right? So if you see that 4, that means you know you're on the right track, right? That's another way. Another way you could do it is if you, and I really want you guys to learn how to convert from mixed to improper fraction, right? Another way you do it is that you have, oops, where did it go? You have 4 and 18 out of 25, right? This part right here, when you try to find the decimal of this, if you put on the calculator, you get 0.72, right? And then you have this 4 right here. 4 plus 0.72 gives you 4.72. That's another way you could do it, right? You get the same exact answer, but I really want you guys to get into the habit of converting to improper fractions, because you'll get there's some mathematics involved, and the more mathematics you do, the more practice you get, the better you're going to get at doing more challenging questions. All right, so let's go to the second one, 1 2/3. So let me erase this. I'm going to leave the steps. Because we're going to be using them. Let me erase all this stuff. Right. Okay. So 1 2/3. We already know that the fraction right? So first is the improper fraction, second is the decimal, and then the last thing is the percentage, right? So you could think of it as this format, right? If you have a mixed number, you can turn it to an improper fraction, then you can turn that into a decimal, then you can turn that into a fraction. We should already know, remember, since there's a 1 right here, right? That decimal gonna probably have a 1, and that percentage is also gonna have a 1 in front of it, right? So try to see these patterns, right? But for now, I'm just gonna erase it. So let's start with 1.23. Step 1 is whole number times denominator. So the whole number is 1, denominator is 3, so that's 1 times 3 gives us a product of 3. And then we're going to use that in our second step, which is your product times your numerator. Product is 3, numerator is 2, right? Remember the top number is numerator, the bottom number is denominator. This is your whole number, right? Product times numerator, which gives us 6. Ah, uh, where did I? Product plus, excuse me. Product plus numerator, right? So you might have caught this on earlier. What you're supposed to do is product plus numerator, right? So product plus numerator would give us a 5, and that would be our new numerator. So we would get 5 over 3, right? So, and even though I wrote product times numerator, I remember in the other one we did 118, 100 plus 18, and that gave us a new numerator of 118, right? So the steps were the same. It's just over here I had written the multiplication sign instead of the addition sign. So make sure you make that change in your notebook if you copied it directly off of the video. So new numerator is 5 over 3. The new improper fraction, 5 divided by 3 gives us 1.6666 onwards, right? And we're going to round it to 2 decimal places. So again, it's 1.6666 onwards, right? So that means this is going to be 1.67, right? Because 1.6666 dot 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 dot, right? If we're looking at 2 decimal places, if we want 2 decimal places, we only want 2 numbers after the decimal. So 1.2 numbers, right? First number is going to be a 6. Second number is going to be a 7 because the number next to it is 5 or above. So this bumps it up to the next number, right? So now we convert that decimal into a percentage. And we got times 100, or move the decimal 2 places to the right, whichever is easier. You get 167%. Again, you see that 1, 1, that 1, that it's not a coincidence. It's gonna be there because the whole number was a 1. All right, so that was the worksheet for this week. And another way you get access to the discussion, you just click discussions right here, and right here, module 1, QR lesson 1 comments, right? Again, you have till this Friday, and it's going to be the same every week, right? Every week I'm going to have the video up by Monday or Tuesday morning, and you'll have by Friday to Friday 11:59 p.m. to submit a comment, and that'll be your attendance and participation for that week. All right, guys, so keep on working on the worksheets. Finish them. I encourage you to try as much as you can. If you get stuck, you guys know where to make the comments. If you need to reach out to me, you know how to get. You have my email address, right? And if you want one-on-one, if you want to talk one-on-one about any of the stuff, again, Thursday, Fridays, 10 to 11 in the morning, right? So can't wait to read your comments. All right, take care.